Hi, everyone. It's truly a pleasure to be here with you today to discuss the lens metaphor in perception and interpretation, a reflection on podcast 231, copyright 2025, ISBN 978 976 9771987. This conversation will be examined and explored today by your host, Dr. William Anderson Gittins, DD. As a multidisciplinary study of the theory of knowledge, elements of perception, this essay explores a fascinating metaphor that connects our understanding of photography's technical components. Through the metaphor of the photographic lens, I advance a nuanced understanding of human interpretation as a dynamic context-dependent process mediated by experience, culture, and spirituality. That said, I discovered that both systems process visual data to create images, with the camera's sensor processing light signals and the brain deciphering retinal impulses. These similarities highlight the intricacy of vision as well as the laws regulating mechanical and biological systems, according to Let's Talk Science. This commentary highlights my work's current relevance in a visually mediated and a heterogeneous world by placing it within larger philosophical, cultural, and theological discourses on perception and interpretation. This conversation also offers a compelling multidisciplinary inquiry into how we perceive and interpret reality. I am using the metaphor of the photographic lens to illustrate that our understanding isn't passive reception, but a dynamic process shaped by our experiences, culture, and even spirituality. Conversely, I'm also using a camera lens as a metaphor for the human mind. This approach may appear almost mechanically compared to our complex thoughts. However, it does bridge that technical realm with the philosophical and theological environment, which is precisely where my argument becomes powerful. It should be noted that while a camera lens refracts light to reproduce an image, the human mind refracts experience to construct meaning. In this context, I am highlighting this distinction to emphasize that our perception is intentional and subjective, making the lens an epistemological device for understanding how knowledge is formed through our interpretive frameworks. That said, the commentary mentioned my background as a multidisciplinary investigation of the theory of knowledge, aspects of perception as a photojournalist, cultural theorist, and a doctor of theology. I have weaved all those different lenses into this one grand metaphor, which is covering everything quite elegantly. As a photojournalist, I connect it to how framing and selection influence narrative truth, much like how Berger discusses images, according to John Berger, Understanding Photography. From a cultural perspective, I have focused attention on how societal narratives and ideologies act as collective filters, and as a theologian, I have introduced the spiritual dimension referencing 1 Corinthians 13:12. For now, we see through a glass darkly, acknowledging the inherent limitations of human understanding in grasping ultimate truth. A glass darkly is very profound. In this context, the content is not just about what we see, but how we see it, and even what limits our seeing. Therefore, with all the digital filters and social media algorithms, this idea of lenses feels more relevant than ever. All things being equal, and in this context, I'm addressing that modern context too, because my reflections gain renewed urgency in our digitally saturated world, and therefore this extends the lens metaphor to include technological and ideological filters like social media algorithms. Today, considering the aforementioned, I humbly contend that encouraging us to critically examine these contemporary lenses is one of the ways I have contributed to important discussions about truth, prejudice, and perception in a post-digital society, fostering what I refer to as epistemistic humility. This conversation is now captured and framed in ePublication 393, ISBN 978-976-97-71987. Thank you for joining me on this enlightening journey through perception and interpretation. Let's continue to explore how our lenses shape our reality together. God bless.